Hi there, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Mr. Ed Draws, and in this episode I'm going to try to teach a worm to paint. So I'm pretty sure you can't teach a worm anything, and even if you could, I'm sure there's better things a worm could do than paint. And it's kind of cruel in a way. I mean, if I threw that worm into some paint and drug what would likely turn out to be its lifeless wormy corpse across the canvas to paint something, I would probably catch hell from the internet. But if I impaled a worm with a barbed piece of metal and threw it in some water, and while it was drowning in said water was eaten alive by a fish, I think people would be cool with that. But either way, I'm not comfortable personally with drowning a worm in paint to create a picture, so I decided I would just make one in a computer, I guess is the long way to say that. So I got this idea for a worm moving around when I saw one of the P5JS examples of, I think it was chain 3, and it followed the mouse in the example, and I was like, oh, I could get that to move around the screen in an interesting way. So I kind of did that, and then I wanted to get it to shade the screen as it moved, so I kind of worked on that, and I used this distance kind of thing that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, but it still made some interesting effects. Here's the original one where I've kind of changed the screen so you can see the trail that's left behind, and then I modified that in a number of ways to create something like this, which the end result was really interesting, but it wasn't the kind of organic artwork I was looking for at the end. Alright, let's take a second. If you haven't subscribed or hit the bell, you can do so now. Click, ding, you've got it. Alright. So like I was saying before, there are lots of different ways that I could leave this trail behind, and there's lots of different ways that I can erase what's there while still leaving part of it. But the problem is, once you let the program run for a while, everything gets kind of muddy, and then the tricks that I've used are kind of revealed in this pattern, and I don't want there to be pattern. I want it to be very organic. I want it to look like a creature with a mind created it, not just a computer and random numbers. In this example of the algorithm, the color is being generated by the computer, and it's cycling through the red, the green, and the blue. And the problem with that is if you don't do it in a clever way, and there's lots of ways that you can do it, you can get some really strange kind of like all whites or greens and reds together. Stuff just looks weird. So I wanted a way that I could control it and leave the functionality of the computer being able to control it too. So I divided the screen into quadrants, and depending on where the mouse is, it will draw the red or the blue or the green or the random cycle that the computer was doing before. So in this way, the computer is drawing, or the worm is moving around, and I'm kind of adding color to it in a very thoughtful way. And again, as the program runs, the colors it gets to be too much. It's too much noise. I like it when the colors stay in a single family, like mostly blues or mostly reds or mostly greens. But when you start to cross over, it seems like it gets too noisy. In this example, I tried to blend it and get into a zone where I could put them all together, and that all it did was just drove the colors into this pastel kind of cotton candy range, which it's kind of cool, I guess, but it wasn't what I was going for. So I decided to just stay off the other colors, pick one, red, green, or blue, and see what the different gradients of these strokes produce. And I loved it. You can see a style in this algorithm. It's very distinct in how it creates things over time, and I really love it. I let this one go. It reminds me of a witch's hat. The little sinews and the curves and the holes and the orbitals and all kinds of different stuff is there that I really like. So I tried it with the blue, and I wanted to add a little bit of highlights and stuff here and there just to get it to, because blue is such a dark color on the screen. And I kind of like that one. Looks like planets orbiting. This one looks like an engine, like a mechanical or steampunk heart that's done in red. So you can see there's a style to this algorithm that's really interesting. So it seems like if you do teach a worm to paint, you can get it to develop a style just by adjusting the variables and putting things in a certain way and then just letting it go. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed doing this for you. If you want more like these, again, hit that bell, hit the subscribe. And as always, until next time, you guys, take care.